A lot of dads, they hit their 30s and their 40s and they think, this is just how it goes. Slower metabolism, stressed, you're busy, might as well get the dad bod, and hey, that's just life. Don't have time for workouts anymore. And somehow that became me. I found myself in my 40s, I'm about to be 44, and I looked in the mirror one day and I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like how I felt. I didn't like how I look. I didn't like how clothes fit. There wasn't a lot about me that I did like. And it came to a point where I had to make a change. And this is my comeback story. Now, a few years ago, I was in the best shape of my life. I've been a competitive bodybuilder since 2005, and my last show was 2016, 2017. But I've always trained. Even in the worst shape of my life, I still went to the gym. But how the hell did I get so far gone, so far removed from the person that I know and what people honestly expected me to be? And maybe that's an unneeded pressure. So rewind the clock a little bit. I became a cop in 2005 at 23. I was active, I was busy, got married, had kids. I was still always training. And then when I was a cop, I was also in real estate. And then left that career, took a huge jump, huge risk, left a job that I absolutely loved. I love being a detective, I love the work, and I just wanted something more. So I wasn't afraid of taking a risk and betting on myself, and I did that. And I was having massive success as an individual agent, and really the top in my area as a single agent, and it was great. However, I was letting myself go a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. I was starting to put value on things that honestly, it wasn't me. And little by little, gradually, but then all of a sudden, I became someone who I didn't like physically, but that affected how I felt internally. And then we expanded from Illinois into Arizona, had a team in Illinois for real estate, started over in Arizona, and it was a whole nother world. It was, the market was tough. I knew absolutely no one. I was starting over, and my confidence took a huge hit. I was used to making money. Money was tight. It was a struggle. It was a challenge, like it is for so many people. But I wasn't used to that. I was used to, hey, I'll just work harder and success will come. And I was working hard. I was putting in the time, but success wasn't coming. Throw on top of that, got divorced, have 2 daughters, and I still trained, but my habits and discipline on what I know to be important with, nutrition and, my diet and the things that make the biggest impact, that took a back seat. I kept on waiting, starting over Monday. Oh, Monday. How many Mondays did I need? And my slideshow before photos just became a series of me just getting fatter and fatter and fatter until one day I saw myself in the mirror. I was like, something has to change. I had the knowledge, and people expected me, I think, at least I felt, to look a certain way and to act a certain way. But deep down, I knew I was failing myself. I wasn't holding true to everything that I would tell someone else if they're in my shoes, and I felt like a fraud. And I hated that. And my daughters, while they would never say anything, to me, like, they're watching. What kind of message, what kind of example do I want to set for my girls, my friends? Who else can I help by saying enough is enough? It starts today. It starts with me. There's no one else to blame. I don't have problems. I have more work to do, as Seth Feroce says. And that's what it came down to. It came down to me making a decision and getting over my excuses. I have a lot of things to be grateful for, and my problems, people would kill to have my problems. And I think that's what the biggest thing for me is, like, having that gratitude and deciding to take action. Like, how many people would kill to be in my position? Like, healthy, kids are healthy. I love where I live. And while business was still a struggle, being in shape wasn't going to hurt business anymore. And this is exactly what I did. My goal was to lose fat, to going from this fat photo here and being out of shape. And if you've ever been out of shape and gotten in shape, or maybe you were in shape and gotten out of shape, you know how that affects you deep down. That feeling of taking my shirt off at the community pool, of just how I felt. I'd walk by a mirror, or I put pants on for a suit, like, what the F? Like, these used to fit. Like, this is not who I am. And yeah, I was still training, but that wasn't, I didn't look how I wanted to feel. I felt awful. And honestly, I look how I felt, to be true. Like, everything on the outside really resonated how I felt inside. So my goal was, let's take it day by day. we can have this far goal, and I think a lot of people, they start with this end drastic look or goal, and that's what they focus on. And I knew if I focused on how far I had to go, it'd be that much harder. And I've been through contest preps. I've been stage lean, and I've done well. Second Mr. Illinois, second Natural Puree Classic. And instead, I just focused on what can I control and focus on that. I can control what I put in my mouth day in and day out, and that's all I'm going to do. Time is going to pass anyway. So I'd rather be 6 months from now, look back like, all right, I'm happy of the things I did. The future me, looking back, would they be happy or would they be a little disappointed in the actions I took today? So that is exactly my goal. Is like, all right, I'm going to control what I can every day, and what happens, attach to the process and detach from that outcome. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you on this channel. That's what I'm going to show in these videos, is what consistency can do. And I'm going to share what's working, what hasn't worked for me, and really everything in between. I've got a lot of experience. I've worked with a lot of top coaches. I've worked with, some of the greatest prep coaches in the industry, been mentored by a lot. It is my own experience, and people have helped myself get into great shape. So it's about time that I actually make that change now. I can no longer just rely on, hey, it'll happen. Now here is the system. I don't look at food as good or bad, right? It all comes down, for me and how I diet, and a lot of my clients, it is calories. I track fat, carbs, and protein, and everything has a role. Now, does that mean I just eat candy and bullshit all day? No. Can you lose weight eating candy? Absolutely. But I know for myself, there's certain foods that are going to either not fill me up, they're going to be too easy to overconsume. So a lot of my food is built around 80% whole foods. So I have a certain target fat grams I hit, carbs, and protein. And a lot of times, if my day is busy, it's protein shakes. But, I think I started my diet at, 240 some pounds, fat as hell, at 70 grams of fat, 250 carbs, and 250 protein. Not a little amount of food by any means. I was not starving. And then after 10 days, I adjust if I needed to. I was looking to lose, 1.5 to 2 pounds a week initially, and then I would go from there. And the weight just started falling off. And then when it came to cardio, all I did was step count, playing with my kids, walking the dog. And I didn't really do I didn't go run unless I wanted to. I didn't spend hours on a treadmill, again, unless I wanted to. Sometimes I just like walking to clear my mind. I live in a great state. I love living in Arizona. Now in the summer, it's hot as hell, but in the other 8 months of the year is beautiful here. Even in the summer, though, it feels good to get outside. Just, I had to be careful not to die. So that was my plan. Stick to my macros, get my steps in, 10 to 12,000 to start, and train hard. But I was already training hard anyway. So the training is the easy part. Now I train in a push-pull legs fashion. At least I was at the time. I've switched it up a little bit. I'm going to go back to that because I like that. And that's the other thing, finding what you want, enjoy, what is effective, what are your goals? Does your training fit your goals? I knew what my goals are. I still love pushing heavy weight. I still love training hard. I still love busting my ass. And going back to what are my foods? A lot of times it's pretty simple. A lot of my meals are very, very similar each day. My breakfast is usually a protein shake and cream of wheat or oatmeal. It's easy. In my second meal, it might be another protein shake. It depends how busy I am, and then usually some fruit. Lunch is usually the prior night's dinner, and then for my meal after, it's usually gonna be like 93.7 frozen ground beef patties. Very, very easy food to eat. I wanted something that's easy, that's simple. I also didn't want to live out of Tupperwares, but being prepared was the key for me. And saving room for a nice dinner that I could have with my girlfriend, that I didn't want her to feel like she was restricted. It was all about me. So finding foods, there's so many different ways to go about this, but becoming a halfway decent cook is key. So and I've done this for years. I have so many different recipes, but find foods that you enjoy to eat and then make a lower calorie version of it. To me, that was the crux of my diet. I never, this entire time, have felt like I've been in a diet, felt like I've been restricted. It's just been that simple. And then stick to the plan. Consistently good over occasionally great has become my mantra for years, but now I'm actually sticking to it. I'm not chasing perfection. I'm chasing consistency. And that's the biggest thing I see people lack is they're not consistent. They'll get into something, be excited, and then get in that valley of despair 2 weeks later, and they don't see the results they want, or it's a new change. And you have to reframe it as like, the person I want to become, what choices do they make? Is this the habits of someone who is blank, fill in your goal here? And just ask yourself that. And does this support my goal? Stay out of the pantry. And I wish you sharing these tips all along this. I could go on for hours and I don't want to. And if you're a dad who's thinking, I'm tired of being embarrassed going to the pool. I'm tired of being windy with my kids. I'm tired of looking down and seeing my gut hang over my belt. I get it. This is for you. This is a feeling I know all too well, and it doesn't have to be that way. And you'll be surprised at the complete 180 you can make in a few months of just locking in, following a plan. It really isn't that complicated. Now, it does take some hard work, it takes some discipline, and the work, when I say it's hard, it isn't as hard as you think. And a lot of people tell me, like, oh, you're so disciplined. I am not that disciplined. I have guardrails set up in my life that keep me disciplined. I have myself on a leash, essentially. So that way it makes it easier for me to be disciplined. And being prepared is key. Being prepared with food, my day, my structure, who I let into my life, who I put out of my life that doesn't help me with my goals. If you're on your own comeback, hit subscribe. I'm posting 3 videos a week. I can't wait to see you on the next one. And let me know in the comments, what is your goal? What would you like to see more of? Again, my name is Rich Brecklin. This is my comeback story. Thank you.